Today we're going to talk about how to color your Mona Lisa picture with crayons today. I love coloring with crayons because you can actually do a lot of neat tricks with them to make your artwork really beautiful. When I grade your project, I'm going to be looking for three things: neatness, blending, and shadows. Shadows have to do with the art element of value, and you don't have to put them everywhere. I'm just going to show you a couple ideas of where you could put some shadows, and then it'll be up to you where you include them on your artwork. So we'll put our little list up here so we don't forget. And I'm not going to color the whole thing today. I'm just going to start with coloring part of the birthday cake so that you can kind of get an example of the three things that I'm looking for. All right, let's talk about neatness first because that's kind of the easiest one, I feel like. When we color neatly with crayons, that is basically just making sure that you stay inside the lines and that you take your time not to scribble. So scribbling to me usually means you're coloring in like all different directions, or you're leaving white spaces. You can tell right now I'm coloring all in up and down straight lines and going slowly so that I fill all these spaces in. You don't always have to color in one direction. Sometimes I go back and crisscross my direction a little bit. That can actually kind of smooth it out sometimes. If you color horizontally and vertically. So coloring neatly is something that we've kind of talked about since kindergarten, but it's still really important that you guys take the time to do it as older kids too. Something that you can kind of forget about, but it is going to make or break your project. Now that I have my cake all colored neatly, we're going to try some blending. Blending means that you're using more than one color in the same area. So maybe if I want to make this area a little bit darker, I could take a darker purple and blend another color on top of it. So blending can be a really good way to customize your colors. If you don't have the crayon that you exactly need, you could blend different ones together. And I find that really helpful, like whenever I'm doing hair or skin colors. A lot of times you have to blend if you want a precise type of color. But it also just looks really pretty on other objects because it's kind of more interesting for your eye to look at when something has two colors mixed together in it. Also, you don't always have to put your two colors blended on the whole surface. On the frosting here, and I'm going to zoom in because the frosting is kind of a small area. On the frosting, I could color the bottom part purple and the top part blue, and then have the two colors kind of mixing and blending in the center. Wow, that purple and blue look really pretty blended together. If you're not sure what colors are going to look good together when you blend, you can always test out your combinations on a scrap piece of paper, because not all colors look nice when they blend together. So if you don't have a lot of blending experience, it's a good idea to practice. Even I still practice sometimes if I'm not sure about two colors. I think another place that I'm going to blend is maybe on one side of my cake. I'm going to blend in a little bit of a darker color on the left side and then gradually start to make it get lighter towards the middle. And this little trick is actually sort of taking us into our third area, which is shadows, because this darker left side is actually kind of looking like a shadow. since it's darker than the right-hand side. And shadows can make your objects look more three-dimensional. So one way to add shadows is to make one side of your object darker than the other. So in this cylinder type shape, I guess, of my cake, this side is dark, and then since it's rounded, it gradually fades to lighter on the other side. Now another place I can put shadows is where something kind of sits on the ground, or in this case, on a table. If this side of the object is the shadow side and this side is the light side, that means that all my shadows have to stay on the same side. So when something sits on the ground or on the table, there might be just a little dark shadow that sits right next to it and then just kind of fades away. It's not much. You really don't have to make these little ground shadows very big. You just add a little tiny bit of a darker color. And I used kind of a turquoise blue, and I could really probably blend even a darker blue into that, especially the part that's right by the cake, because that's going to be the darkest part of the shadow. There we go. I like those blended colors even better anyway. And I can also put a shadow under this layer of cake, since it's sitting on top of the first one. So this is even more blending. Fade that out a little bit. The thing about shadows is they have to be really kind of soft with nice faded edges. If they don't have the faded edge, they might not look like a shadow. Wow. So blending in shadows can really actually make a pretty big difference on your art project. That made my cake look a lot more real. And I will tell you that blending and shadows are something that you kind of need to practice. And over the years, as you kind of practice drawing different objects and you look at objects in real life to notice where shadows actually are, you'll get better and better at doing this. But go ahead and just pick maybe one or two areas on this project that you think that you want to add a shadow to. Some other examples on my finished project are where people stand on the ground or where objects sit on the ground. I kind of just colored a little bit of a darker shadow there. I did some blending in the clouds with very light blue and light purple. The grass is blended with light green and dark green. So just pick a couple places on your art project and try doing some blending and adding some shadows, and you'll be amazed at what a difference it can make.